Hello world, welcome to the 47th Climate Change Emergency Awareness Rally. It is November 1st, 2019. The next one will be November 8th, 2019 at 11 o'clock, I believe, here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So this week we had the wildfires in California becoming prevalent. Basically, the whole coastal area of the state is catching fire. Of course, we don't hear about the interior part of the state from the news because the media is not there. What little coverage there is, I mean, they cover it, but they don't say why it is happening. The media likes to blame either PG&E, which is the electrical provider, or they like to blame the local people for not doing this or not doing that. And it comes down to the plants would not catch on fire unless you had a situation that allowed them to catch on fire. So you got a climate change situation that there's severe drought going on out there, which is natural for a desert. Essentially, California is a desert, and it cannot support 41 million people like there are in California. It's insane to have that many people, and eventually there will be a systems collapse out there. The grid will go down, and things will, as a result of fires or whatever else, it just can't support that much. And it's ecological disaster building up over there because you need a huge amount of water for all these lawns that people like to have and make it into an East Coast situation. And you have a huge amount of agriculture. The aquifer down there is just diving deeper and deeper, and the people can no longer, the farmers can't get the water so easily as what they used to. You have subsidence of the soil, whereas one time as high as the telephone pole each soil used to be, and it has dropped that much, like 29 feet in certain areas. So it's not a good situation, and these wildfires and everything, eventually what will happen is some city will burn down and everyone will be surprised. But I'm telling you ahead of time, don't be surprised when that happens. So, you have that going on. Then you had the military come out with a couple of people associated with the Pentagon came out with a military report with the War College saying that the military might not function in 20 years, the U.S. military. And a lot of it's due to climate change. You have 67% of all military bases that are in jeopardy of due to climate change in one form or another. For example, Norfolk in Virginia, the sea level's rising, and the docks are in trouble. You have situations where it's going to become untenable because there'll be riots because people won't be able to get water, food wars, and we have bases everywhere around the world, 167 countries. So you have a huge amount of fossil fuels being burned by our military. 30% are burned in the buildings, essentially, for heating and whatnot. But you have another 60% or 70% that are for fighting, such as fueling the jets, fueling the cars, fueling the trucks, fueling the tanks. So some of these apparatus get horrible gas mileage, like trucks and whatnot, and let alone the jets. When you fire up the afterburners in a jet, it's just dumping fuel right out the back through flames. Looks like Wilma's here. Hi, Wilma. So it's a nice cold day here in Pennsylvania. It's 46 degrees or so, and the wind's blowing for once. You have governments, our government, especially in the United States, that are absolutely thwarting any action on climate change. The Trump administration is proposing legislation undoing all the Obama rules, which didn't go far enough, but he's undoing every rule there is. Whatever rule about environmental concerns has been completely stripped away. And not only that, they're going the opposite direction. And it's not the way we need to go. Eventually people will figure out, and it'll be way too late, probably 10 years from now or 5 years from now, people will figure out that they've been done a dirty deal. And they won't figure out, maybe they'll associate why their kids are dying, but I don't know. I don't know if Americans can make that leap. But you're not only having this United States, you're having social unrest around the world. Right now, Australia, the police, they're basically backing the corporations, the mining corporations, and attacking the people that are protesting, trying to fight and save our very lives. So the police are essentially an arm of the corporations now around the world, especially in Australia. And it's really a horrific situation. If you get a chance, punch up on YouTube the Australian police riots against the protesters. And it's really amazing what they're doing to their own people. They act like that they're an arm of the corporations, whereas really they should serve and protect the people of Australia. And one of the reasons why you don't have protests here in the United States, because everyone knows that the police will go apeshit on them, and it won't be a good situation. Then you get thrown in jail, and you don't get out for weeks, months, or even a year until you come up for trial. So it's a really severe penalty, unlike England, which Extinction Rebellion can easily, right now at least, have their protesting and get out on the same day. That would not happen in the United States. You'd be stuck in there for weeks, and you'd lose your house, your job, pensions, who knows what all could happen to you. So eventually around the world, as these situations continue, you're going to end up with a food insecurity, more fires, more drought, huge snows, essentially wild fluctuations in the weather. This is due to a shredded Gulf Stream and the Arctic melting. So there's less of a temperature difference between the Arctic and the tropics. So you get the jet stream, which is no longer contained up north. It just makes these wild outbreaks and huge dips. So you could have heat one day. For example, yesterday it was 74 degrees here in Gettysburg. Today it's 42. So, you get these wild fluctuations. Any crops in the fields are soon to be lost, due to this type of wild fluctuation. And around the world this happens. England will be in summer hot, and then it'll be cold with an outbreak from the Arctic. So, you have, right now also there's a African swine virus going around the world. It's hit China really hard. It was 60-some% of all the pigs in China ended up dying as a result of this swine flu. And it's 97% fatal. Once a pig gets it, they're going to die. So what's it doing is it's going to eventually spread around the world. It'll be a worldwide pandemic for pigs. And it essentially sounds like nothing, but it really is, because it removes a food source. So that puts pressure on other food sources. And these are the type of food insecurity issues that we're going to run into. So you have to find a substitute protein, whether it's vegetables or another animal. And some of these animals people should not be eating, but they're going to because they need to survive. So eventually what will happen is the second set of animals will have a situation, and then you get a real insecurity issue. And when people don't eat, you're 9 meals away from all-out riots. Okay, you can go a couple days, I think 3 days without drinking water, and obviously you can go a long time without eating, but people can tend to get pissed when they're not feeding their families. So these food insecurity issues are a real issue for not only the people in general, but also for governments and police and enforcement organizations, because once social unrest starts happening, you're not going to contain it. People don't care. If your family's dying, you'll do what you need to do to survive. So essentially, we need a new change of thinking as to what's happening around the world in our government, our situation as far as capitalism. Right now, our town is just loaded with nothing but automobiles. There's no mass transit, as you can see right here. There's no mass transit, so people have no other choice. We're all hypocrites as far as burning fossil fuels, and you try to do your best, but you're not provided with any out. You have no other way or means of getting to work or doing what you need to do daily. There's some solar, some wind power for electric companies. By and large, in the United States, electrical power is generated either through coal or through oil or through natural gas, which is not natural gas, it's methane. Don't fool yourself. That gas stove you have in your house is a methane burner. So it's the world's worst polluter you could use for environmental concerns. So people need to get out and start protesting. Extinction Rebellion in England has the right ideas to start protesting, blocking streets, do whatever you need to do to make people aware non-violently. They're trying to adopt what Gandhi did and what Martin Luther King did. The government needs to tell the truth as to what's going on, and we have right now someone in charge who absolutely denies climate change altogether. And the choice is yours whether you want to continue on with this sort of thing. I guarantee you, to keep someone in like that is thwarting all chances of us surviving will be fatal to you and your children. You will die, your children will die. This is a guarantee. We can't go 4 more years like this. However, the Democrats don't provide much of a solution either, because if this was a real existential threat, as they keep claiming it is, they would be talking about it every minute, and they are not. They talk about every other issue, about the impeachment, about this, about that, but they're not concerned about climate change. If they were, if they grasped the situation, they'd be in an all-out panic and doing everything they could to get it done. So let me give you an analogy, and then I'll wrap it up here. If you had a no % chance of your airplane crashing, would you put your child on it? Of course you would. If there was a 1% chance, you would probably not do it. 25% chance of your child dying in an airplane crash. You definitely wouldn't put your child on it. 50%, you'd be insane to do it. 75%, absolutely no way in hell you'd even think about going to the airport. Well, your child and your family, your wife, your husband, everyone is in a 100% airplane crash situation. Planet Earth is basically that airplane. There is no chance of getting out of this unless we start taking extreme action to control climate change. And this means reducing and eliminating CO2 out of the air and planting a massive amount of trees and doing other technologies. But more than that, we need to have a citizens' assembly, as Extinction Rebellion says, and get ordinary people together to come up with ideas of what to do. Locally here in Adams County, Pennsylvania, there is no action being taken. We have politicians, we have local people, we have everything going on in city councils, and there is no action being taken at all concerning climate change. They just wait for the next election, hope things will change, and they won't. Because the very people that got you into this situation are entrenched and want to stay in their positions and will go down the middle of the road and not upset anybody as much as they can and not do anything. We don't need that type of thinking anymore. We need people with forward thinking. We're in a world war situation, and this is bigger than all the wars that were ever combined in the history of humanity. So, you think about that. We got the enemy is over the wall, and they're in your house now. And are you continuing to watch TV and do nothing, not turning out? As I said many times, there's a college 3 blocks away from here, and they're not absolutely doing anything. Kids just walk by, don't say anything, don't stop by, don't protest, don't do anything like that. And that's symptomatic. The younger generation needs to pick up the slack for what these old farts like me have not done. Essentially, also, we need retirees to come out. We need people that have time, which is everybody, essentially. If your child's going to die, and guarantee of it, I guarantee you're going to find time eventually to get out and make yourself well known and show your hostility and unhappiness with what the situation is. The question is whether it's going to be a peaceful demonstration now or a violent one later. And I guarantee you within 3 or 4 years we're going to end up in a violent situation, starting up in this country and around the world. And then the governments have to choose whether to beat down the people or go forward and try to change things immediately. So regardless, there's going to be pain involved, and the choice is yours whether to watch me on here or actually get out with us and do something. So Tanya will be out in a little bit with us, and so that'll be 3 people, and that's all we ever have. This is the 47th one of these we've done, and it's really pitiful as to what's not happening in this town, around the country, and around the world. So the choice is yours whether you want to do anything or not, and what kind of pain level you want to go through, a violent one or a peaceful one. And right now I kind of choose peace, but evidently we're going to head towards violence. So hang in there and keep doing what you're doing if you want. I would suggest you don't. So see you November 8th.